Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm coming to you with the books that I read in the latter half of July. Servant Mage by Kate Elliott. This is an adult fantasy about a girl who is an indentured servant, and she can light things up, light lamps, create flames, etc., etc. And so this book was really short. It is not very long at all. So it did have some nice themes in it about stuff like, people don't get what they need, so that the people in power stay in power and stuff like that. But it doesn't really have the time. It doesn't have the length of story to be able to actually go more into those themes. So I really liked it, but it could have been better, and a lot of it was that I think it should have been a longer story. Next, we have the A Court of Fives series by Kate Elliott as well. This is a young adult fantasy series about a girl living in kind of a fantasy, ancient Rome inspired world, where basically her mother is of the colonized people and her father is from the colonizers, and her father is a prestigious military officer, but he's not really as high up as he could be because he's not like a noble or anything. And she has been sneaking out to run these races that her father would never let her run, because if it were find out that it was her running them, that could just be bad for her family, kind of. So one day, the lord who's kind of above her father in the military passes away, and the person who replaces him is this evil guy who they don't like, who basically makes her have to run the races for like a bad reason, and basically tries to bury her mother and sisters alive and without her father knowing, and like all this just awful stuff. So this whole series was really, really good. It absolutely blew me away. The only reason that I did not give it 5 stars is basically because there's just some stuff in it that is not quite explained and just kind of didn't seem like it really made as much sense in the story as it could have. But overall, the whole story is so good. It's really full of political intrigue, and it's really high stakes. And also the world, even though I often tire of fantasy worlds where women are treated like crap just because they're women, basically. I feel like this was done so well in a way that really shows the way that things have been in all over the world and still sometimes are in some places, all of that, and it really shows just how it should not be like that and how messed up that is. Obviously, this is YA, so there is a like love subplot that's super underdeveloped and all of that, but but I really don't take points away for that being in a YA book, even though that could have been more like better developed and everything. It's just there for the purpose of there being a love subplot in there. But overall, just the whole story is really, really good. Next, I read 2 Dark Reigns and 5 Dark Fates, the third and fourth books. I can't talk. Third and fourth books in the 3 Dark Crowns series. So this was a series of 4 books that when the first book came out, it was so hyped that they actually extended it to be 4 books rather than the 2 that it was going to be originally. And I absolutely loved this series when the first book came out. I was really, really anticipating it because I really like stories about fights to the death, and when you have 3 sisters fighting to the death, that just sounds awesome. So after the first 2 books, I never got around to reading the last 2 books because I felt like everything that I had been reading it for was already kind of tied up and done. So it took me forever to read the last 2 books, and so I finally just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and finish the series. And I definitely really, I definitely think it is worth reading the whole thing, for sure. There actually was more that had I known this and that happens, that I would have kept reading it, but overall, I didn't like these ones as much as I liked the first 2. But this is a series that I definitely thought was really good. I like the world of it, even though the world does not necessarily make sense. I feel like a lot of what does not make sense about it is what makes it work so well. But I think that some of the ideas in it did not get the follow through that they deserved. Most notably, and if you don't want spoilers for book one, if you have not read book one and don't want spoilers, just fast forward until this book is no longer up here. Most notably, the fact that two of the sisters are, they don't have the abilities that they were supposed to have, and it turns out that they were switched at birth, and it's pretty obvious by the end of the first book, and then at the end of the first book it gets confirmed that they were in fact switched from birth, basically. And we never see, like, we hardly ever see them use each other, like, the abilities that they actually do have. Like, that never had a reason. We never find out why they were switched, what the purpose of any of it was. They could have just as easily not been and just had flat no abilities, and the story would have been the same. So there were a few things like that in the story that started off as a good idea and a good twist, and then just did not get the follow through. And finally, last but not least, I read the 4 books that are out so far in the Adventures in Fosterland series by Hannah Shaw, aka Kitten Lady. So if you don't know Kitten Lady, she is a baby animal, orphan baby animal usually, rescue who has a nonprofit called Orphan Kitten Club, and she started writing these books basically with the intent of hopefully, you know, getting kids ages, you know, 5 and up to see that there's a need for taking care of animals and, you know, all of that. So so these are cute little stories inspired by actual animals that that she rescued, and she gave them little, like, storylines with a good, like, plot and everything, and they're so clever and cute, and I definitely think that they must do a really good job of getting kids to like animals and care about what happens to them and step up to maybe help when they're old enough to, and all of that. I really enjoyed these books. I think they all have really good different storylines about being friends, even if you're different, and you might feel like you're different from everyone, but you can still, you know, people will still relate to you. You don't have to be an outsider forever, etc., etc. So I thought that was all really interesting, like, because a lot of these do have, you know, different types of animals becoming friends, or kittens from different backgrounds becoming friends, all of that. So yeah, it's really awesome, and I really enjoyed reading these. They're really cute. So anyway, those are the books that I read in the latter half of July. So if you've read any of these, have any thoughts on them, let me know in the comments, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!